politics, business, sports, arts, music. Mike and Marty on the beat. Mike and Marty. Mike and Marty on the beat.
Good morning, Bells Falls. Welcome to the feed. It's Wednesday, May 19th. As you can see, Mike is not here today. Mike is actually taking a little respite time. I believe he's traveling in Florida, exploring old Florida. But I'm here today with Rachel Navy in a part of our ongoing series of highlighting local artisans. Rachel agreed to come in, fill in for Mike today.
Gotcha.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
So Rachel, in addition to being an artisan, it seems you have a lot of other interests. We were chatting before we went live. So let's just start with telling the audience a little bit about you.
Okay, so clearly a local artist. It's more of my hobby. It's more of my own thing to do when I have time. I love to create. I've got a particular connection with my creations to birds. So a lot of bird elements in them, from feathers to bird paintings themselves. I do shamanic counsel, shamanic journey work, soul retrieval work, which is kind of an offshoot to psychotherapy in one realm, and nursing per diem has another. So a lot of things going on. I like to do classes when I have the chance. I'll throw in kind of like a pop-up art class here, there, wherever. So people can come and kind of explore more freely. I call it painting with the spirit of compassion, so they can create something very unique and personal, as opposed to just kind of like reproducing an image, that kind of thing.
Right, like a paint and sip where everyone does the same thing.
Yeah, so this is a little bit more organic in nature, a little bit more free form. I'm hoping to host in August a wellness and psychic fair in Saxons River. It'll be the first one, I think, for Southern Vermont.
Nice.
As it is. So that's coming up, and I'm gearing up with that with local providers. So I like to network that way. I do wear a lot of hats.
It sounds like you're a true Renaissance woman.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when you're a single mom, I think you wear a lot of hats.
I think you do.
And you make the most of what it is that's authentic to you, what it is that's works best for you, and how you want to express yourself in the community. So
it sounds like you take a little bit of you have a nursing and counseling background.
Correct. Yeah.
And you apply that in your art, and then use that sometimes maybe with working with folks.
Yeah. So my heart's an anthropologist too, and so I'm not classified an art therapist by any means. This is totally separate, but that's the background. So I'll have components to that, or I'll work with archetypes, or I'll work with color association, symbolism, things like that. You'll see a lot of that kind of crop up in my own art pieces. The tarot's the other side of it, where I definitely drawing from those archetypes, reading a story based off of archetypes and the hero's journey and things like that. So learning how to read the cards in accordance with that, plus whatever intuitive nudge I get along the way. So
nice. So I think we have a video that Mike took before he left. So let's go to that.
Okay.
And then we'll come back and talk more. Nice. So tell me about owls.
Owls?
Owls.
Owls see in the dark, right? So there's a connection with both shamanism there. There's a connection with using your intuition. There's a connection with being a predatory animal that, you know, is independent, is not afraid of the dark. So there's a lot of courage association with an owl. So a lot
Interesting.
of wisdom. Yeah.
So I'm going to digress a little bit.
Yeah.
So a few years ago, all of a sudden this owl showed up.
Yeah.
Like literally outside the building here. One night I was leaving work and there was an owl in the tree.
Yeah.
Like never seen an owl. And then I had a really dramatic event in my life.
Right.
Because I went home and Googled, what does it mean if you see an owl? Because that's how I roll.
Yeah.
And so that's just interesting. I don't know that much about them. So is there a cosmic connection, seeing the owl and then?
Sure. I mean, but what does an owl think when it sees humans is the flip side to that. So
Like, oh my God.
So it's a cute little cartoon once with two little rabbits being like, quick, I just saw a human. What does it mean? So owls, of course, all birds are associated with messengers, right? Because they fly, because they see things. And when you're a naturalist, when you're an observer in life, you get to kind of like pick up on their little idiosyncrasies, their languages, their behaviorism, right? So the owl, of course, long associated with dark energies only because, way back in history, medieval era, things like that, and witch trials and all of that, the owl is the one that spooked you on the road when you're traveling at night, right? So something must happen. But when you look at it a little bit deeper, it's also like going back to the Greek and Roman times. It's more along the lines of, okay, this is a creature that shares a lot of wisdom because they're able to see things that we don't normally see in the dark, of course. So if it's the symbology of, okay, I just saw an owl and then something traumatic happened, it's that message coming forth. Like I'd look at it as, okay, you saw the owl or the owl was present in your life. If the owl kept on showing up, then that's a whole other scenario, and you need to look at something a little bit more deeper within ourselves. But if it's just a brief encounter, maybe not. Maybe it was a messenger, like, hey, something's about to happen. Why don't you prepare yourself, dig deep, muster your strength, kind of thing, and proceed with caution. Is another element to owls that remind us to proceed with caution.
Interesting. So tell us a little bit about some of the things you brought today.
So I brought some goodie bags, of course. I brought some of the smudge sets I make. Again, more bird stuff is primarily my thing. One thing I caught in the video that I didn't even mention before is the essential oils. So I do essential oil fragrances. I make my own therapeutics because of a chronic illness I had. I wear another hat with wellness and alternative medicines degree. So that kind of evolved from wanting to help myself heal and learning things that way. So I do have a line of therapeutics that I'm working on. Patenting with that, but I also do the fragrances because why not? They just smell good. I like to smell good, feel good, all of that stuff. But the goodie bags themselves are a hand painted, gauze bag here that I do up. I do 9 stones because I love crystals too, of course. Gotta have the crystals in the mix, and they're very important these days. So I do a 9-stone chakra set. I do a fragrance or a fragrance spray, and then I have the hand painted bag.
Nice.
Sometimes a stone comes with it too. I have all sorts of goodie box options down at River Artisans, which is one of the places you can find me. I do a lot of spiritual tools and crafts, of course, because that's really my thing. And so all the birds I usually know along the way when it comes to what I create with too, unless I'm gifted feathers or come across feathers that have been left for me in the wild, I'll put it that way. So I'll make smudge fans separately. This is a smaller one. I'll make with the mini smudge sets, I'm doing the sage, the sweetgrass, the palo santo, which is the spirit wood, of course. Your selenite for cleansing your energies, helping cleanse those energies out. You'll get a shell. These come in all sizes. I'll also make mini smudge fans, depending on the size of the box set or the smudge set. I'll put together some more resins and things to burn for you, and I'm always open and always available to have conversations like, what do I use this for? What is that associated with? That sort of thing. And then, of course, I'll throw in a fragrance. you know, or I'll throw in a stone with a 10 milliliter fragrance that, you know, it'll give you a little bit of the history about the stone and all of its metaphysical properties.
Talk a little bit more, because I get smudging, but talk a little bit more about that. I think
So
that's
what's smudging? Like what is in general? So, okay, so of course it's about, we often associate it with cleansing our energetic field, right? So we all have an area surrounding us that vibrates, and smudging is a process where you're opening yourself up to clearing that space, removing that negative energy, and then inviting positive energy back into it. So what it also does, though, is more historically, smudging is also antimicrobial, so an antifungal for like the sage and stuff. So spirit wood Palo Santo itself, you know, it's 2 years after the tree dies that the oils produce. So this is harvested, you know, 2 years down the road, and Peru, Ecuador is primarily where this comes from, and it has its own even stronger than white sage properties that purify the atmosphere, not just our ethereal sprays, right? The problem with it is, though, is you want to make sure if you pick it up, it's fair trade, because it has a tendency to be over-harvested. White sage itself, long time Native American use, Mesoamerican use, for, again, purifying your space. You know, you're asking, okay, clear my eyes so I may see what's being in front of me, the truth of what's being in front of me, my mouth so I speak clearly, I speak my truth, my heart, I'm cleansing my heart space, so I'm listening with compassion, I'm inviting kindness as well as giving that out to the universe, or the people you're interacting with, and sometimes too, it was used prior to war, because you want to make sure you're going with the truest of intentions, your space is clear, and then you can better connect with spirit that way. So the ties into ancestral medicine quite a bit, because it's long history, and because of the way we use it, we're inviting spirit to kind of like be there, be present with us, and have our back, because they always want to do that anyways.
You know, everything that you just said, that whole, like, because you're basically going through your chakras, sort
Yeah.
of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you done a video, kind of?
I have
'cause I think a lot
not.
of people don't. I mean, think like myself. I kind of know a little bit about smudging. I kind of get the idea of it, but I don't have all the
So I
verbiage.
haven't done like a YouTube video yet. And by the way, Rachel Navy on YouTube for
Shameless
the
plug.
tarot. I have to plug that in too. If you want your general tarot readings, your monthly readings, your mid-month readings, you go to Rachel Navy on YouTube. But as far as the smudging videos, I know I've done, when COVID hit, usually I'm ready to blah, 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 talk. COVID hit, I felt the need to kind of go inward. And okay, it was an adaptation for me, because I had my little one home. We decided to homeschool and just kind of get through this whole spring. But like so many, I felt the need for healing, both for myself and then seeing what was going on globally. And then we have Black Lives Matter, you know, happening, and all these other civil uneasiness in our society. So as a healer myself, that was both take time out, be authentic, be true in your intention, and bring that forth kind of maybe down the road too. You know, take time to really process this. So part of what I did was both healing, you know, helping others heal virtually, right? As much as healing myself in the process virtually. And then taking that to, okay, where do we go from here? Kind of aspect of things. Do we individualize this? Do I individualize this? Do I reach out? What do I do? And I'm coming out of the introspective phase of things, coming out of like the need for isolation slowly but surely myself, as we kind of regroup here and figure out where we are as a society. But as an observer, you know, and as someone who tries to be authentic, right? I look at it as an opportunity too to share that. And, you know, so again, if people want me to do a video, I'll do a video kind of thing. But there's plenty of videos out there already.
Yeah, no, I just thought it just struck a chord, as it was intriguing.
Yeah.
And because there's a lot of things like that you're mentioning within the smudge package that I just am not aware of. I'm aware of the
like
sage
frankincense and myrrh.
And
Frankincense and myrrh is the one we know of in the Bible. You know, it is the frankincense itself. Okay, not only is it anti-inflammatory, but frankincense was also, back in the day, another antimicrobial. I make a Thieves. It's really popular. It's also known as Robber's essential oil blend, and I don't make the essential oils. I do buy them like 100% organic, that sort of thing. But I'll mix together 3,000-year-old essential oil remedies, where at one point, like during the Ottoman Empire or something like that, they covered themselves in this oil, to go rob the bodies during the plague, things like that. So there's long history. A lot of what I utilize or the crafts I make have like long historical healing and spiritual tools.
Nice,
So, yeah.
nice. And then you also, it looks like you're doing some headdresses. Are those for fun?
So
or are
another
those-
hat.
Another hat. Many
Another
hats.
hat. I used to wear was American travel style belly dance. So I did that for years. I picked that up when I was doing travel nursing, hitting the Renaissance fairs, things like that. And so all the bells and whistles. And I said, okay, well, what's a way? Years ago, I was like, okay, how do I make this work so I don't have to add a flower to my hair every time, like a separate one, and go hunt things down? Yeah. So I started making the headdresses for dance, really. And then headdresses turned into fairy godmother play when my little one was small. So so we had these running around. It also is great for Beltane, if that's your spiritual practice, your belief system, and the avenue you go down for, May Day, things like that. It's also great for teaching, when you're working with kids, things like that, and you want to have that like vital energy, or, you want to dress up as a fairy godmother. I got wands to go with them, all that stuff, or you can get them separate. I find those at River Artisans too. I've got, my new thing is my dream catchers. And I'm not an Etsy person. I'm never going to throw things on Etsy. I'm not into that kind of competition as it is. And I do love to custom. My big thing is I love to custom and I love to commission pieces. So this is one I've been working on now. This is actually my first one. They get a little bit more complex and ornate from here. But, I'm pulling in the dream catcher aspect. I'm pulling in the feathers. Here it is, the angel messengers, the protectors. And they just look nice. And the crystals. So, but this one in particular I've kept. And I've got some crystals up in here because I dry all my eggs. I either paint on my eggs. Some of those down at River Artisans too. I paint on my eggs, or I use them somehow. So I've got dried eggs and feathers everywhere all over my house. But this is my parakeet.
Oh, nice.
So, who after like 7 years finally laid eggs, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but it's just you and their girlfriend, and I know they're going to go bad if I don't rescue them. So that's how that came to be. That little brainchild came to be. And then I have the angel light catchers. They're called angel light catchers or witch ladders, depending on which one you want. And this one's just funky. I'll tell you what, they look great over massage tables, or if you're trying to create an environment where you need a focal point. And they're just lovely, so they're fun. Yes. So this guy is all peacocks, and it has a little crystal on the end. Lots of these are Swarovski crystals. I always try and use like semi-precious stones in my jewelry, my whatever creations with that. I've got the tarot kicking around. I love to do henna.
Nice.
I'm
So
the
tell
only
us
one I know with
a little
dreadlocks.
bit more about the, because that's what most of your YouTube videos are right now. You do a reading a month on YouTube?
I do. So I try and break it down to the 12 signs, general monthly reading, and then I'll do a mid-month reading. And then I'm not someone who can spend, 12 to 14 readings on YouTube. I can't do that all week long because I do so many other things.
Right.
But I do enough so that way sometimes I can throw out some extended readings or like a bonus reading, or really focus in like, okay, what is the general collective's outlook looking like for their career? What's it looking like for their relationships? So, but the best way, I like YouTube. YouTube's a great format to like promote for people and put multiple places. So it's the space I use to do that in, to facilitate that in, but I really do enjoy the personal readings more. So,
well, I would assume you get with a personal reading, you're actually, because it's give and take. There's feedback from the reading that you're doing. For someone.
There's a different kind of energy that happens altogether with a personal reading, because you're right. You're having that exchange of energy, And then I get the warm and fuzzies with it along the way too. So you'll see in my YouTube videos, you'll see me like putting my hands on things. And this is where that intuitive nudge really comes in. It's confirmation and validation for not just me, but for whoever I'm sitting with doing a personal reading. And that warm and fuzzy is kind of like that yes or no. And what I like to think of as, my ancestors, my guides, all those light workers coming in and helping me out along the way. Anytime I do a reading, I ask permission both from the person who's saying, hey, I want a reading, and from my ancestors and my spirit guides. So I'm not going into it just flipping cards.
Right.
and I think I was telling you earlier, like with the YouTube, I feel sometimes like I'm just regurgitating the meaning of the cards, although there is a storyline and each one is different. And sometimes you'll see, like I'm starting to learn more and more about astrology. And so sometimes when I see readings where like the same card keeps popping up in one particular place for people, I'm wondering if that has something to do, is it Mercury retrograde? Is it all these other planetary influences of things? And sure enough, I'll find out maybe afterwards or whatever. Just that's where why it's coming into play so frequently for all the signs. So
because when you're doing the readings, you're randomly shuffling, and then as a card pops out, is that?
Yeah, I take flippers and jumpers, so that way it's not me selecting.
Yeah, I figured that's what you were doing.
I can, because again, if I'm putting my hand over a card, I'm either getting like a warm and fuzzy sensation that I recognize as a yes, or a cold sensation that's a no. And I'll use that if like one goes flying off the table, let's say. I'll be like, okay, I can either pick it up knowingly, immediately, that that's where that's supposed to go and what position it's in, or I can ask, through my hands or through my energy field, like, okay, is this where it's supposed to be and how? Because sometimes they flip all over the place, or they flip upside down, or whatever it is. So I want that clarification, because you can read tarot two ways. You read them either upright or in reverse, and they have different associations for that. So 78 cards in the deck.
Nice. Well, we are getting low on time,
Okay.
and which is too bad, because I think this show could go on for like hours. But so, if people want to find your art, where can they find your art?
You can find my art all over the place. But right now, home is River Artisans in Bells Falls, Vermont. You can find me on Villaggio Strega on Facebook. You can find some of it on YouTube as Rachel Navy, and you can always get a hold of me via my email at rnavy@outlook.com.
Nice.
For commission.
And then, so commissions, or what if someone wants you talk about, commission like specific smudge kits, and because you have smudge kits that you probably pre-made up, but you do custom ones, it sounds
I
like?
can do custom. I can pretty much do custom anything, from the headpieces to any of the feather stuff to any of the paintings. I actually brought along a painting with me, and I saw one pop up in the video here. These guys have, which way am I going?
Camera's right there.
These guys
There you
have
go.
been traveling. I did a series of owls. So that's been traveling like from Banks to, Vins, places like that, for the bird series as well. And then anybody can custom or commission me with anything. We'll figure it out. So whatever it is that they want, from spiritual tools to the paintings.
Nice. And you talk, just to kind of close out a little bit, so you do some what you call spiritual counseling and healing work. So if somebody, if somebody was maybe in need of that, how would that work?
So often it starts with, hey, can you read my cards?
Okay. There you go.
I don't know what I want specifically. I just know I want something. I'm going through this change in my life. Okay, so do we really need the cards read, or do we need something more? Again, this is an offshoot of both the psychotherapy, so it's not psychotherapy at all. I'm sure Marshall Lane would not go for this. It's definitely working with your ancestors, your spirit guides. So if you feel like, okay, soul retrieval is a big one I do, or how to shapeshift your energy, like how do you get unstuck? Often soul retrieval work is really people who are suffering some sort of trauma. So in that aspect, if they're not already working with a professional, a licensed professional, this is another avenue to explore. And it's basically allowing your ancestors to kind of like help you out. They're there for you anyway. I'm just the one that facilitates the conversation.
Nice.
I'll do drum work. So there's certain vibrations of the drum rhythm, that can induce a state of trance. And I utilize that to go in, ask for information, or you yourself go in, ask for information. We bring that information back, process it, and move on from there.
Awesome. So definitely, folks, go into River Artisans, check out this stuff. Have your cards read. I've had it done before. It's not with Rachel, but it's totally insightful. And yeah, when you talk about unstuck, I think that we're coming out of a time when we felt stuck. So I think there's a time moving forward that we should explore all of this stuff. And,
Right.
and I hope you would come back and talk about your maybe promote your psychic fair.
Yeah, that would
Yeah,
be great.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we will see you later, community. Bye.
Local news, politics, business, sports,